Okay, my name is Richard Keller. I was a dialysis patient for 6 years. Um, in my experience at the dialysis center, it seemed most people were on dialysis for diabetes. I was one of the few people that actually was there for polycystic kidney disease. It ran through my family on my mother's side. My mother was on dialysis for 16 years. So I pretty much knew at some point I was going to be on dialysis because I had inherited the PKD disease. And so I knew what to expect. I'd visit her in the dialysis center she was at. And the way the disease works is it pretty much starts to rear its ugly head in your low 30s, which is what happened with me. And at that point, you really need to start staying on top of your visits with your nephrologist to see how your kidney function's going. And then once it gets to a certain point, you need to either go on dialysis or have a transplant. Transplant is not usually available to somebody who needs to go on dialysis. So I knew what I was doing. Um, I had the surgery with very, very little notice. Um, I had some blood work done. Nephrologist called me back, asked why I wasn't on dialysis already. And within 48 hours, I had had the surgery and I was on dialysis. So no time to worry about it. I was very happy with the dialysis center I went to. All the nurses and technicians were very friendly people. It's incredible how far they're willing to go to keep you happy, knowing that you're pretty much stuck in a chair and you're helpless like a newborn baby for 4 hours. Um, Everything went really well for me. The first time I ever spent on dialysis in my dialysis center, I didn't know how I was going to make it through. I couldn't sleep to pass the time. I'm not a person who can read a book sitting up in a chair. Um, TV, the options were minimal. There really wasn't much to do. So the main thing was for me to find something to keep my mind occupied and not think so much about the fact that I'm spending 4 hours in a chair and I'm going to have to do it 3 times a week for an unknown number of years. But in my case, everything went really well. My brother was also on dialysis for the same disease I had at the same time I was on it. So we were able to share experiences. I was on the dialysis center doing the hemodialysis, I guess it's what it's called. And my brother was on the home one, PD. So between us, we got to share the experiences of both ways of doing dialysis. We both got our kidney transplants, and I still go back and visit the nurses and technicians at my dialysis center. It's been 2 years. Um, the people were fantastic to me. So I couldn't see just cutting the tie and leaving dialysis. Um, as far as mentoring the people that were there, any issues I had with adjusting, I had those people to help me. And what I'm hoping to do is take the experiences of myself and the help that I got from the technicians and the nurses and pass it along to anybody else who basically is having troubles adjusting. I actually had the people at my dialysis center contact me about being a mentor. They all knew how well I adjusted to dialysis. Once you accept the fact that it's part of what you're going to be doing until you get your transplant, you learn to live with it. I actually, after a year, I didn't contact, my nephrologist did his weekly visit to me, and I asked him to extend my time in the chair for the additional benefits. Now, if being on dialysis was as terrible as most people would make you think it is, you wouldn't be asking to be on the chair and on the treatment for an extra half hour, which I did. I have a lot of friends that I was in a certain society where I live, and I had a lot of people who came to me who knew I was on dialysis and told me they had family members who were facing dialysis and were very nervous about it, didn't know what to expect. And they'd asked me if I'd be willing to contact their family members and speak to them about my experience and what to expect. And I was happy to do it. So I had already gone through, I guess what you'd call mentoring, but on my own and separate from this. So to me, if they're willing to take me on as a mentor, I'm perfectly happy to do it. Well, benefits of having me as a mentor, again, is my experience. I actually went through the surgery to have a fistula put in my arm. I had the catheters put in my chest until the fistula was ready to be used. I spent 6 years on dialysis. Um, let's see. After 3 years on dialysis, I realized that my kidneys, due to my PKD, were enlarged and they weren't really doing anything. I was getting no benefit out of having the kidneys. So I chose on my own to have my kidneys removed because I had the dialysis machines to rely on doing what a dialysis machine does. So I had my kidneys removed, lost 23 pounds in the process. And that helped me be a little bit more active than I was when I had the additional weight from the kidneys. And then 3 years later, when it came time to have the transplant, I had the additional room in my abdomen to place the new kidney, whereas with the old kidneys, I wouldn't have had the room. So again, I've gone through the surgery for the fistula, the surgery to have my kidneys removed, the surgery to have a kidney transplant. And as soon as I got out of dialysis, it was almost like I was never on dialysis. And even when I was on dialysis, I used to, I got the earliest shift I could get. I drove 22 miles to get to the dialysis center. I was on the machine by 5:45 in the morning. I was usually home by 11 o'clock. I'd get home, I would cut my grass, I would shovel snow, I would go play golf. I'm a mineral collector. I'd go out and swing hammers and break rocks and collect rocks. So dialysis, a lot of people talk to me and I play golf with people and they couldn't believe that I was out playing golf while I was on dialysis. And dialysis is not a, it's not a, like a, I don't want to say death sentence, but a sentence. It's something that keeps you going until things improve and you could go back to your life the way it was. There is nothing that I did prior to dialysis that I can't do now, and I'm 61 years old.